Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 7, entitled Scheduled Incarnations with Specific Functions. And we're on text 8, it's July 3rd, 2020. Rainam namaskritya naram chaivanavotamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Praishra Bhadvishya Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavat Yutamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. This is text 8, chapter 7, canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vidha Sapatni Udita Patribi Anti Ragya Bala Api San Upagata Tapase Vanani Tasmai Adat Dhruva Gatim Grinate Prasanna Divya Stuvanti Munaya Yat Upari Adastat Vidha Sapat Nudita Patrivir Antiragyo Vidha Sapat Nudita Patrivir Antiragyo Balo Pisanu Bhagatas Tapase Banani
Balo Pisanu Bhagatis Tapasta Tapadani
Tasma Adadruvagatim Grinate Prasano
Tasma Adadruvagatim Kim Grinate Prasano
Devyastuvanti Munayo Yarupar Yadastat
Devyastuvanti Manayo Yaruparya Adastat
Vidha Sapat Nudita Patrivir Attiran Yo
Vita Sapatni Udita Patrivir Antiragyo
Balo Pisanu Bhagatas Tapase Banani
Balo San Upagatas Tapase Banani
Tasma Adandruvagatim Grinate Prasano
Tasma Adandruvagatim Grinate Prasano
Devyastuvanti Munayo Yarupar Yadastat
Divyasta Stuvanti Manayo Yaduparya Adastat
Vidha Sapat Nudita Patrivir Antiragyo
Vida Sapatni Udata Patrivir Antiragyo
Balo Pisanu Bhagatas Tapase Banani
Balo San Upagatas Tapasavani
Tasma Adadruvagatim Grinate Prasano
Tasma Dhruva-gatim Grinate Prasano
Divyastuvanti Munayo Yadupar Yadastat
Divyastuvanti Manayor Yad Upari Adastat Vida Sapatnya Vida Sapatnyo Dita Padribir Antyagrago
Vidha Sapat Nudita Patrivir Antiragyo
Balo Pisyan Upagatas Tapasavanani
Balo Pisanu Bhagatas Tapase Vanani
Tasma Dhruva Gatim Grinate Prasano
Tasma ada Dhruva Gatim Grinate Prasano
Divyastuvanti Manayo Yaduparya Apastat
Divyastuvanti Munayo Yaduparya Dastat.
Vidha sapatnyudita patri viranti agyo Balo pisanu pagatas tapasevanani Tasmadadru bhagatim grinate prasano Devyastuvanti munayo yaduparyadastat
Vida sapatnyudita patri viranti vagyo
Vidha sapatnyudita patri viranti ragyo
Balo pisanu bhagatas
tapasevanani
Tasmadadru bhagatim grinate prasano Divyastuvanti munayo
yaduparyadastat
Vida sapmati tudita patribir antilagyo
Vida sapatnyudita patri viranti ragyo
Bado pisam bhagatas tapasevanani
Balo pisanu pagatas tapasevanani
Tasmadadatu bhagatim grinate prasano
Tasmadadru bhagatim grinate prasano
Divyastuvanti munayo yaduparyadastat
Divyastuvanti munayo yaduparyadastat.
Would someone else like to recite the verse? We'll go to the word for word. Vidha,
Vida
pinched by.
Pinchbai
Sapatni,
Sapatni
a co-wife.
Co-wife
Udita,
Udita
uttered by.
uttered by
Patribi,
Patribi
by sharp
by
words.
sharp words
Anti,
Anti
just before.
just before
Ragya,
Ragya
of the king.
of the king
Bala,
Bala
a boy.
a boy
Api,
Api
although. Son,
son
being so rather.
so
Upagata,
Upagata
took to.
tapase
Tapase, severe penances.
severe penances
Banani,
Vinani
in a great forest.
in a great forest
Tasmai,
Tasmai
therefore. Adat,
Adat
gave as a reward.
gave as a reward
Dhruva Gatim,
Dhruva Gatim
a path to the Dhruva planet.
a path to the Dhruva planet
Grinate,
Grinate
on being prayed for.
and being prayed for
Prasanna,
Prasanna
being satisfied.
being satisfied
Divya,
Divya
denizens of higher planets.
denizens of higher planets
Stuvanti,
Stuvanti
do pray.
Dupere
Munaya,
Munaya
great sages.
great sages
Yat,
Yat
thereupon.
thereupon
Upari,
Upari
up.
up
Adastat,
Adastat
down.
down
Translation. Being insulted by sharp words spoken by the co-wife of the king, even in his presence, Prince Dhruva, though only a boy, took to severe penances in the forest. And the Lord, being satisfied by his prayer, awarded him the Dhruva planet, which is worshipped by great sages both upward and downward. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. When he was only 5 years old, Prince Dhruva, a great devotee and the son of Maharaja Uttanapad, was sitting on the lap of his father. His stepmother did not like the king's patting her stepson, so she dragged him out, saying that he could not claim to sit on the lap of the king because he was not born out of her womb. The little boy felt insulted by this act of his stepmother, nor did his father make any protest, for he was too attached to his second wife. After this incident, Prince Dhruva went to his own mother and complained. His real mother also could not take any step against this insulting behavior, and so she wept. The boy inquired from his mother how he could sit on the royal throne of his father, and the poor queen replied that only the Lord could help him. The boy inquired where the Lord could be seen, and the queen replied that it is said that the Lord is sometimes seen by great sages in the dense forest. The child prince decided to go into the forest to perform severe penances in order to achieve his objective. Prince Dhruva performed a stringent type of penance under the instruction of his spiritual master, Sri Narada Muni, who was specifically deputed for this purpose by the personality of Godhead. Prince Dhruva was initiated by Narada into chanting the hymn composed of 18 letters, namely Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Lord Vasudeva incarnated himself as Prishni Garbha, the personality of Godhead, with 4 hands, and awarded the prince a specific planet above the 7 stars. Prince Dhruva, after achieving success in his undertakings, saw the Lord face to face, and he was satisfied that all his needs were fulfilled. The planet awarded to Prince Dhruva Maharaj is a fixed Vaikuntha planet installed in the material atmosphere by the will of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. This planet, although within the material world, will not be annihilated at the time of devastation, but will remain fixed in its place. And because it is a Vaikuntha planet never to be annihilated, it is worshipped even by the denizens of the 7 stars situated below the Dhruva planet, as well as by the planets which are even above the Dhruva planet. Maharshi Bhrigu's planet is situated above the Dhruva planet. So the Lord incarnated himself as Prishni Garbha just to satisfy a pure devotee of the Lord. And Prince Dhruva achieved this perfection simply by chanting the hymn mentioned above, after being initiated by another pure devotee, Narada. A serious personality can thus achieve the highest perfection of meeting the Lord and attain his objective simply by being guided by a pure devotee who automatically approaches by dint of one's serious determination to meet the Lord by all means. The description of Prince Dhruva's activities can be read in detail in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gura Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Guran Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Saganaraganatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitan Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tamta Kanchana Gauranga Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchikalpa Tayubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanan Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyabadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Veda Sappa Nudita Patribhuyanti Ragyo Balo Pisanu Pagatas Tapase Vanani Tasma Adandru Bhagatim Grinate Prasano Devyastuvanti Munayo Yadupar Yadastat, being insulted by sharp words spoken by the co-wife of the king. Even in his presence, Prince Dhruva, though only a boy, took to severe penances in the forest, and the Lord, being satisfied by his prayer, awarded him the Dhruva planet, which is worshipped by great sages, both upward and downward. Yes, okay, so this chapter describes different incarnations, expansions of Krishna appearing in the material realm. And so one thing I find interesting here, so this verse, it talks about the Lord, and Prince Dhruva took to severe penances in the forest, and the Lord was satisfied by his prayer and awarded him the Dhruva planet, which is worshipped by great sages, both upward and downward. So it mentions the Lord. It doesn't even give the name in the verse. In the purport, Prabhupada gives the name Prishnigar. But if you and I've read the Bhagavatam several times and heard so many lectures from Srila Prabhupada, and I've read the fourth canto is where there's several chapters about Prince Dhruva. And still, if you had asked me, what was the name of the Vishnu? What was the name of the incarnation of Krishna that appeared to Dhruva? I never registered it. I would not be able to tell you until now. Now I'll probably register it because I'm giving class on it, so it's probably making some impression. But even though I've read this purport, and maybe it's there in the fourth canto. So whereas in the other, we hear about Kurma avatar, the tortoise incarnation, Varaha, the boar incarnation, Narayan Rishi. And so we're hearing about like the devotees, Nrsingadev, closely associated with Prahlad Maharaj, Vamanadev, closely associated with Bali Maharaj, and Kapiladev, closely associated with his mother Devahuti and his father Kardama Muni, like that. Here, really, we're most prominently hearing about the devotee, Dhruva Maharaj. And again, I didn't even know the name of the form of the Lord that appeared to Dhruva, Prishnigar. Okay. So for me, this is really highlighting the importance of the devotees, the importance of devotees, a mentality like, look, it's just me and Krishna. And of course, I respect the devotees, but Krishna is not impressed with that mentality. There's a saying, love me, love my dog. Now, of course.
Amen. Amen.
Yes, thank you, Dara. Yes, Dara relates. Love me, love my dog. Yes, Hare Krishna. So, of course, we don't want to think of devotees of the Lord as dogs, but it's an analogy. It's an analogy. And so, and the idea is, if someone is affectionate to the dog, such a nice doggy like that, then the owner is, yes, I like you. Okay. So that propensity comes from Krishna, so that we serve the devotees, we appreciate the devotees. Vancha kalpata yubhyascha kripasindubhyeva cha patitanan pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. We offer all respects, obeisances to devotees, and serving the devotees, the true devotees of Krishna, then we become dear to Krishna. Then we become dear to Krishna, not like a mentality of, get out of these devotees, they're so neophyte, it's me and Krishna. That mentality doesn't work. Of course, within the framework of associating with devotees and appreciating devotees, there is a whole science. That's given about how to associate with different types of devotees with different flavors of consciousness. Some might be devotees, we respect them and from a distance. And some devotees we make friendship with, and some devotees we serve. So that's a whole science that Srila Prabhupada describes, Srila Rupa Goswami describes. And then like our current link to the Parampara, spiritual master, pure devotee Vaishnav, then, well, we sing every morning, or at least mornings, but we're encouraged to sing every morning, but at least we sing when we have morning programs. Sakshadarit Vena Samasta Shastra Uptastata Bhavyata Eva Sadvi Kintu Prabhuya Priya Eva Tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanara Vindam. I offer my humble obeisances to such a devotee who is our pure devotee, spiritual master, pure devotee of Krishna, who Sakshad Darit Venasam means the pure devotee is non-different from Krishna. Like we fully get Krishna through the pure. That's what it means. Sakshad Darit, same root as Shakti Vesha Avatar. This is an empowered jiva soul incarnation of Krishna, non-different from Krishna, and so all of the shastras, all of the Vaishnava authorities confirm this. Yasya prasada, Bhagavat prasada, yasya prasada, nagati kutopi, jayam stuvam, tasya shastri sandyam, bande guru shri charanara vindam. That we get the grace of Krishna by serving and pleasing our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. And without pleasing Srila Prabhupada, we're not making advancement in Krishna consciousness. Simple point there. Simple point. So we can see here. I mean, this just strikes me here that this the Lord who incarnated. And this chapter is about incarnations of Krishna, and the Lord who incarnates is somewhat of a secondary figure here. And Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, the pure devotee is the main character. Now it's interesting. I say Dhruva Maharaj is the pure devotee. Well, one thing. So, there's some Vedic astronomy here, Vedic astronomy, and so Dhruva Maharaj is a pure devotee. At the same time, in his pastime, he didn't start that way. So it's described here. So, and in the fourth canto, there are several chapters about the Dhruva Maharaj pastime. So Dhruva Maharaj, he wanted to sit on the lap of his father, and his father is King Uttanapad. His father's on the throne, and his father was very affectionate. Yes. But then his stepmother, she had a son named Uttama. She had a son named Uttama, and so the stepmother said, no, you can't sit on the throne unless you take birth from my womb. Maybe in a future life, you'll take birth from my womb, like that. So Dhruva, he had this real kshatriya warrior spirit, even at 5 years old. And he was offended, he was insulted, but what could he do? So he went to his mom. And his mom is, actually, your stepmother is your father's favorite wife, and I don't have much influence. This is a very sad situation. And so Dhruva Maharaj was infuriated. So, what can I do? And so she said, so she went to, well, really, I think it's only the Lord can help you. What can I do? So he said, okay, where do I find this Lord who can help me? I said, well, I heard some of the great sages, they go to the forest and they meditate. Okay, I'm doing that. He has this fierce determination. And we understand what he was determined for. He wanted revenge. He was spiteful. And what he decided he wanted is that he wanted a throne. He wanted a kingdom that was greater than his father's, greater than his grandfather. His grandfather is Manu, who was like, I don't quite understand, but emperor of, a much greater thing than Uttanapad, his father, and then greater than his great-grandfather. His great-grandfather is Lord Brahma. Okay, so you can't do that. I mean, Brahma is controlling the whole universe. But Dhruva was just like, I just want it. I just want it. Okay, so he's coming. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, and Dhruva Maharaj is a great example of this. Chatur vidabha jante mam jana sukriti arjuna artoji gasur artoti gyani cha bharatarshava. Krishna says, people approach me for different reasons. And there's one of the reasons is people want money or they want material opulence. So that's Dhruva Maharaj. And Krishna says, okay, they're all pious souls because they're approaching God for whatever their material desires. But so they're all pious souls. And Krishna says the best is one who's serving me purely. The best is one who's serving me without any desire for reciprocation. But we approach Krishna for any reason. I want knowledge. I want to feel smart. I want relief from misery. I want relief from my disease. I want my family to do well materially. Okay, it's purifying. And then our reasons become more and more pure. So Dhruva Maharaj, like that, and so he went to the forest. He went to the forest and he did meditation. And then Narada Muni came. Narada Muni came and tested him. And Narada Muni was like, little boy, and it's like, it's dangerous in the forest. There's lions and tigers, like that. And Dhruva Maharaj shared his heart, communicated, I want a kingdom greater than my father and grandfather, like that. And so Narada Muni was like, you should go home and play. You're a child. Play sports, play with toys. You should go home and play, like that. And but Dhruva, he had this warrior spirit. No, I want this. So Narada saw like, whoa, he's serious about his material desires. Okay, and he said, my mom told me to meditate on the Lord. So Narada said, so then Narada gave him this mantra, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This topic of Dhruva Maharaj came up a few weeks ago, and it wasn't this purport, but I somehow mentioned, I think during class, that the mantra was Om Namo Narayan, Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. But I was wrong, and I got that because when my children were small, we watched a Hindi movie on Dhruva Maharaj, and I know that is correct. In the movie, it was Om Namo Narayanaya, but the movie is not accurately representing Bhagavatam. All in all, it's a good movie. It's a good movie, but some details are apparently off, including that one that I absorbed. Okay, so
not as good as Field of Dreams, though. That's all.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you.
Thanks for the editorial commentary. So yes, so okay. So the Narada, he said, okay, so you all right, you want it, go for it, go for it. And Narada gave him a sadhana to do. And if we think like our sadhana is austere, so Dhruva, he was like living on roots, and then he became a fruitarian, and then he became a breatharian. Right? These things come up now. Truly, no, he was living on fruits and roots, and then after a few months, then he was just living on air, like he was taking like one breath a day or something. He became a breatharian. And then it's described that his austerities were so intense that the entire universe was shaking. The demigods were trembling, like, whoa, like austerity, tapasya. Tapa means heat, means power, fire, right? And we can feel when we do austerity in a decent consciousness, we feel powerful. We feel the fire of some transcendental power. When we do some fasting, or when we do morning programs on austerity, right? We feel energized, powerful, because we didn't just sleep or like that. So we do some austerity. And so And again, Dhruva had material motivations. He had material motivations. And then his austerity and his chanting the mantra was effective. And then Vishnu appeared within. He got full contact with Super Soul. And then he lost contact, opened his eyes, and there was Vishnu in the form of Prishni Garbha standing right before him, standing right before him. And then Dhruva Maharaj, one well-known quote, Dhruva Maharaj, he was completely filled with transcendental ecstasy, so much so he wanted to offer prayers, but he wasn't coherent enough because he was moved by the transcendental ecstasy. But one statement from Dhruva that Prabhupada mentions a lot is that Dhruva says, "Yeah, I was begging for shards of broken glass, and now I have diamonds. What a fool! What a fool I was! I was like this whole kingdom. I'll rule the universe. What a kingdom created for my father. My envy against my brother because I want this. I want to be better than him, and like that. Said so I approached the Lord for pieces of broken glass, and now you're present before me, and now I have the greatest diamonds. This is wonderful, and what a fool I've been, both. And so as a result, so in terms of Vedic astronomy, because we can simplify it like, okay, there's the material universe, and then there's the spiritual planets like that. Okay. At the same time, that's a simplification. So the Dhruva Loka, and we earlier in the second canto, there was some chapter earlier when it talked about the yogi who achieves some perfection and they go up to the different lokas and they pass the pole star. In terms of terrestrial dimensionality, Dhruva Loka corresponds to what we would call the North Star, the pole star. Okay. So the material planets are temporary, and then there's Vaikuntha planets. So Dhruva Loka is a Vaikuntha planet. It's a completely spiritual planet within the material sphere, like an embassy, like an embassy of a country. It's within another country, but it's actually fully in the jurisdiction. So it's Dhruva Loka is a spiritual planet within the material sphere, and it's just actually earlier in the second canto, and also places in the fifth canto and the fourth canto. It's described in more detail. And so, so as it turned out in Dhruva's situation, that Krishna through Prishni Garbha form, Krishna actually provided what Dhruva prayed for, even though it's inconceivable. How can you have something greater than Brahma, like that? But Krishna gave it to him in the form of ruling this Vaikuntha planet within the material realm. And when Krishna gave him this great opulence, Dhruva didn't care about it anymore. So Krishna is reciprocating with his devotees. A few days ago, we cited the verse, Yasyaham anugrinami harishe tadanam shanai. That for some devotees, if Krishna sees, you're sincere, but you still got some material conceptions. So to help you along, I'm going to take everything material away. With Dhruva Maharaj, that wasn't the case. Prabhupada references that Yasyaham anugrinami verse to refer to himself. But Prabhupada saw that like Krishna took away his opportunities to become greatly wealthy through different business opportunities. And materially, like things all seemed set up again and again. So Prabhupada said, Krishna took everything away, and then I had nothing. In Prabhupada's Vrindavan Bhajan, written in the late 50s, he says, yes, I'm experiencing the stark reality of material nature, the abject reality of material nature. And he said, yeah, my wife, my children, they care nothing for me now, and I have not a penny, like that. So Krishna took everything away so that Prabhupada was no longer any illusory dependence on any material wealth. Of course, that's how Prabhupada humbly sees himself. We don't, we see that Prabhupada was always a pure devotee, but in his pastime with Krishna, that's how he humbly sees himself. But in the pastime, Prabhupada had some conception. Yes, I'll serve Lord Chaitanya's movement, but first, India needs to be independent. So Bhaktisiddhanta smashed that at their first meeting, smashed that misconception. Then Prabhupada was like, well, I'll serve Bhaktisiddhanta's mission through getting wealthy. And then Krishna took that away, and then with nothing, Prabhupada came to the West, and then of course Krishna gave him everything and more. So if we look at the essential process of Dhruva, okay, if we look at the essential process, it's about focusing on that which is external to that which is internal, and then even towards that which is interior to the internal. Okay, because Dhruva Maharaj, he was very externally focused, very much about, I'll be happy by fixing the material context. We use that term in Sappho sometimes, right? It's like, I'll be the king of this, and I'll show my stepmother, and just it's all about I resisting the context and changing it. So very, very external focused, very external focused. And at the same time, he was rightly guided. His Vartma Pradarshak Guru, that means the guru who first shows the path, that was his mom, that was his mother. The guru who first shows the path. So he had a devotee mother who knew how to guide him. She didn't have all the detailed knowledge that Narada Muni had, but she had the essence, and she gave him nice guidance. So even though you want to have this material desire, that's described earlier in the second canto. One's full of desire, one wants impersonal liberation, one wants devotional service, whatever. The best course of action is to approach Krishna with intent, with intense readiness to do devotional service. Etan nirvidya mananam ichatam akatobaya yoginam nripik kirtanam harinamanu kirtanam yoginam nripik nirninam. And it's again, whatever one's desires or lack of desires, best course of action, chant Hare Krishna, chant the names of God. So yes, so Dhruva's process through the guidance of Narada Muni is to go within, to connect. We talk about be, living, be, do, have, rather than have, do, be. Connect with the core of your being, and connect with the source of your being. Connect with the very ground and source of your being. That's the guidance of Narada Muni. And Dhruva Maharaj, again, he had whatever motivations he had, but he did it. He did the austerity. And he did, because austerity means that, like our senses and mind and ego always agitated. So to not indulge that agitation, and to quiet the senses, and to do austerity. So Dhruva Maharaj, he quieted. He didn't give indulgence to his anger or his desire for sense gratification or whatever, and he went inside and chanted the mantra. And this mantra, this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, this is the original consciousness of the living entity, as Srila Prabhupada says. So it's the self connecting with the self in self-realization. That's be, do, have. Because the nature of the self, okay, so connect with the self and connect with the super self. That's the Prishnigarbha. That's connect with the self, connect with super self. And the nature of the self in self-realization is not to go to sleep. You know, the nature of the self in self-realization is to be active in service. We sometimes talk about the material context and with what content do we fill the context. The material context is, you know, birth, death, old age, disease, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, disturbances from the mind, the body, cheating propensity, blah, blah, blah. The material context. Actually, though, in terms of a meta view, or in terms of, if we go deeper into it, the whole material context is just the content of spiritual context, because the ground of all reality is not matter. The ground of all reality is consciousness, spiritual consciousness. Consciousness is actually the container for everything, even the material context of this body, my particular body, your particular body, the house we live in. The consciousness is a magnet. The consciousness is a magnet. And so because of the consciousness we developed, we've attracted this body and its propensities to eat, sleep, mate, defend, and like that. And we've attracted the particular circumstances of our life. So in one sense, the whole material context is just like the content of the ground of consciousness. And consciousness is a magnet. And so we don't want to, so our program is not to imitate the details of the austerities of Dhruva Maharaj, thank God. And so Srila Prabhupada gives us really a much simpler, easier program that includes rasgullas and gulab jamins, and I always go there, but you get the point. And so, but the principle of austerity, through austerity, we connect with ourselves and we connect with the source of self. We connect with the true ground of reality, which is consciousness and super consciousness. When I say super consciousness, my nonverbals went up in a sense, and that's true. And also to a super consciousness means we go to the heart of our heart. Premanjana charita bhakti vilochanena shanta sadaiva vidayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundaram achintya gunasvarupam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is Shamasundar, Krishna himself, possessing innumerable transcendental attributes in whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts with the eyes of devotion tinged with the salve of love. Throughout Bhagavad Gita, many times in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, me as super soul, I am situated in the most interior region, in the most confidential region of all living entities. Kshetrabam chapi mam kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharatake kshetraganam jaya yatadganam matam mama. Krishna says, yes, in this body, there's two kshetragyans. There's the soul and the super soul, two knowers of the field. The body's the field. So Dhruva Maharaj went in, and as Dhruva Maharaj goes internal, consciousness turning towards itself in self-discovery, consciousness turning towards super soul in a spirit of loving devotion, then Dhruva Maharaj went, I want this kingdom, I wanted to get back at my stepmother. That all became so just nothing in that bliss that he feels, in that bliss that he's experienced in the soul experiencing itself as soul in loving devotion to the Supreme. And so, that's, so we don't want to imitate Dhruva. At the same time, it is, if we want to go to that consciousness, if we want to experience that consciousness, austerity is required. And well, it's described about the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibi Kalani Kalavasani Krita Nidraha Ravi Harakadi Vijitel Chatyanta Dina Chaya Radha Krishna Gunasmiter Madhurimanandena Samohita Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyoga Sri Jiva Gopalaka. I offer my respectful obeisances to the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan who were chanting Hare Krishna and offering obeisances and engaging in all sorts of devotional activities according to a scheduled measurement, Sankhya, with counting, with let's call it a pact and smart goals, that they had quantitative numerical commitments, and it's described, not that they needed to, but to set an example for us. And it's described that through such devotional activities, through such rigorous devotional activities as these, the 6 Goswamis were always, well, first of all, they conquered over sleeping and eating through performing sadhana with numerical, quantitative strength. They conquered over sleeping and eating. That's nice. They conquered over sleeping and eating, and they were always meek and humble, enchanted by the remembrance of Radha and Krishna. Not Radha Krishna, Gunasmita Madhurimanandena Samohito. So, because like this, to practice controlling the senses, this is required in any serious spiritual path. I would say, more and more as the decades and generations go on, there's these different conceptions of, I'll call it pseudo spirituality. The idea is to really be spiritual, it means to just let the senses and mind go wherever it wants. That's freedom. And we understand with a little wisdom, no, that's slavery. No, that's slavery. Like tomorrow's July 4th, so in the United States, it's an independence, freedom sort of theme. So Prabhupada gives the example that just like if someone's trying to control a horse or horses and they're not able to control it, and so it's just gone wild, the horse are going to hit, and then making it like, yes, this is what I want to happen. This is actually the goal. So the idea, so Prabhupada says that like in the name of yoga or whatever, someone's not able to control the senses. So they make it, the goal is to let the senses do whatever they want. That's real spirituality. And so, well, you're just not able to control the senses because it's hard. It's hard. I'm attached to gratifying the senses. And then there's no peace. Bhukti mukti siddhikami sakali ashabda. Then there's no peace. As long as we're retaining any forms, gross or subtle material desire. Krishna bhakti nishkama atta eva shanta. And when our propensity for desire, which cannot be eliminated, it's intrinsic to the self. When our propensity for desire is fully transformed to, I want to serve Krishna, I want to serve Krishna's pure devotee, then there's a very active, dynamic peace, very active, dynamic peace. Okay, I'll read the verse again. Vidha sapat nudita patrivir antiragyo balo pisanu pagatas tapasevanani tasma adadruvagatim grinate prasano divyastu antimunayo yadupar yadastat. Being insulted by sharp words spoken by the co-wife of the king, even in his presence, Prince Dhruva, though only a boy, took to severe penances in the forest. And the Lord, being satisfied by his prayer, awarded him the Dhruva planet, which is worshipped by great sages both upward and downward. Hare Krishna, thank you for your attention. I welcome any comments or questions at this time.
Hello.
Daru Brahma.
So you say in the verse there was no translation that says Krishna garb, it's only in the purport that probably names that's the form of the Lord that appeared, huh?
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Interesting. And even you think of, well, garba is the womb, right? Garba usually. What's
Yes.
Krishna? I don't know what Krishna means. Do you?
I'm not so sure. I mean, it seems to be related to the word, like maybe it's related to the word like deer, like priya, priya, deer, like that. So I don't know exact meaning, but I'm thinking it's something about deer.
Ah, that's funny because here I get to bring back the dog issue. My dog's name is Precious. And Precious is like Krishna. That's interesting. But anyhow, the other thing I wanted to mention, I like the fact you mentioned about, we see that Prahlad started off, although he's one of the 12 Maharajas, isn't he?
Prahlad Maharaj is one of the 12 Maharajas.
Yeah.
I don't think Dhruva Maharaj is listed as one of the 12 Maharajas.
That's the one I mean. That's what I'm talking about. But anyhow, still, you always say Maharaja. Still, it is interesting, as you said, how he's not always a great, great soul. He doesn't start out as absolutely pure. He had a lot of material desires. But even I wanted to point out that my guru, Srilacharya, points out that, but that even Bhishma, who is a Maharajan, is also shows a lot of growth even in his story. Like when he would say when he was younger, and he would say, look, I've taken a vow that no matter what, the whole universe can go to hell, and, I ain't going to break that vow. And that was still motivated rather than when he was actually willing to even do whatever was necessary to keep it going. I'm just saying, he points out that he was a great soul, but he had some impurities. And he actually, by the end of his life, he had changed and gotten even rid of those little impurities. So it's interesting how.
Thanks for that. Thanks for sharing that, Daru. Now, Daru is referring to sometimes, the Bhagavatam and Prabhupada often refers to the 12 Mahajans, which means like 12 particularly great souls from the Vedic age who we accept as authorities. So even though Dhruva isn't directly on that list, still we consider him a Mahajan, a great soul, just like the 6 Goswamis, or Srila Bhakti Siddhanta, or Bhakti Vinod Thakur, or Sutta Goswami. They're not particularly on that list, but they're still Mahajans. They're still great souls. And then, thanks for sharing that, Daru Brahma Prabhu, that we can see in many, if not practically most or every instance with these devotees who are inspiration and are authorities, they go through a process of transformation. Now, we consider this as pastime. It's not like they were impure. They go through a process of transformation. I mentioned something about Prabhupada's pastimes, like that. We look at Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. We look at Maharaj Parikshit, like that. So it's a process of transformation in connection with Krishna. Thank you.
Actually, yeah, and there's another great Mahajan that we have seen. He was a student at Penn State, and he would just go for food. Well, actually, he was a pure devotee, and he just eventually revealed it later. But anyhow, I just want to remind, that's another example of a great pure devotee who started off apparently with external thoughts and had other thoughts. That's all. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol Prabhuji, thank you for the class. Very enlivening. I was wondering if you would speak a little bit more about repression. For me, when I hear about Dhruva Maharaj being 5 years old like just going to the forest and just chanting and meditating. You know, I like okay, sometimes I feel super angry or like lusty for something, and yeah, I like endeavor to like hold space for that emotion or that experience, but now I'm thinking like, oh, why don't I just like chant more fiercely or just like do more austerity? And like then I'm worried, like if I do too much austerity, then I snap. Could you just speak a little bit about the balance and
Yeah, well, as I know you're aware, like third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, he gives some challenging feedback at the beginning. He says, don't be a pretender. And towards the end of that chapter, he asks a rhetorical question: what can repression accomplish? And so he's asking that rhetorically, like, yeah, don't repress, don't be a pretender. And like, okay, so obviously we don't want to imitate Dhruva Maharaj, and we're not encouraged for our 5-year-olds to imitate Dhruva Maharaj. There's letters where Prabhupada was very angry because he heard that like the school authorities at different places of the world in his movement, they were Prabhupada said, where'd you get this idea that the little children are going to chant or going to march like in the military while chanting japa? And then Prabhupada says kind of some obvious thing like children should play. And Prabhupada says that Krishna consciousness is naturally blissful, and if you try to force it, then they get a bad taste. And then, when they're teenagers, they're going to rebel, and just obvious psychology stuff. And so Prabhupada says children should play and like that. And here, of course, we see a point here that is Dhruva Maharaj. This is completely voluntary. It's not like his mother wanted him, at 5 years old to do that. Narada Muni tried to talk him out of it. So it's completely voluntary. And so Krishna says, Prajakshava gamam dharmyam shushukam kartumavyayam. He said, this process is joyfully performed. And so if we're indulging our senses too much, means like we're not on that growth edge and we're just kind of lazy, complacent, indulging our senses. We can all think of ways that we indulge our senses. Then we're morose. Then we're going to be depressed. We won't be happy, right? If we're indulging in sex life, we'll be morose. We will be unhappy. Okay, that's it. If we indulge in internet that's not related to devotional service. At the same time, Krishna says, Yukta Hari Viharasya, Yukta Chestasya Karmasya, Yukta Svapna Bodhasya, Yogo Bhavati Dukkha. Krishna says, in this process, it's important to be balanced in recreation, to be balanced in self-care, be balanced in work, be balanced in eating, be balanced in sleeping. And he specifically says recreation. So it's our responsibility to kind of have enough self-awareness to know what's that growth edge balance, for us at each phase of life. What's a balance for me in regulating a particular sense in my late 50s is different than in my late 20s and like that. So to have enough self-awareness, sincerity, to know what's that balance where I'm not doing like overly austere and then there's no joy there because I'm just thinking about having that other gulabjamin, but I can't. Or I'm thinking about sleeping, but I'm, only, there's so many letters where Prabhupada guides his disciples, they're trying to sleep only 3 or 4 hours a day, like the Goswamis, who slept only 2 hours per day. And for them, it's not even sleeping, it's just resting the body, while meditating on Krishna. And Prabhupada would say, look, he would say kind of like at your level, if you sleep just 3 or 4 hours per day, you'll probably get sick. So Prabhupada's giving them some common sense guidance. If we're doing like over austere, if we're doing, not indulging in austerity either, Rukmini writes, thanks for that linguistic paradigm, very helpful. Yes, if we're over austere, I'm not speak for myself, I'm probably on some great devotee trip. I'm probably attached to some false ego about seeing myself, I should be this advanced. I'm probably on some yogi trip or something like that. And then at the same time, in the name of, oh, let's just meet ourselves, let's just accept where we're at, which is all true. That's consciousness, that's sattvic. But in the name of that, we can get into laziness and not sufficiently challenging ourselves to do austerity. So of course, I'm not giving the formula of what that needs to look like for you today, but I'm trying to, talk about principles. And it's a principle of being responsible to know where I'm at, and being responsible to be alive in the process and challenging myself, and that kind of, this process is joyfully performed. That's like a gauge. Because I know if I'm doing too much austerity, it quickly leads to too little austerity tomorrow or next month, because it's not me in a growth edge balance. And if I'm indulging my senses, then I'm morose, I'm depressed, I'm shameful. So these are like guides. These are guides to support us to be just more and more steadily refined on this path of connecting internally.
Ooh, that's very insightful.
Thanks for your question. Thank you, Narayan. Any other questions or comments?
Connected with what Narayan shared, I was just meditating on, like austerity, sacrifice, they help us control the senses, mainly the senses and the mind. And I was thinking, and how is that connected with the false ego? Because we need to get free from false ego. And what I see in myself and in my clients is that Krishna does all kinds of things out of the box for us to free ourselves from false ego and come to humility like that. But I'm just wondering, what is in a process which is directly connected with letting go of false ego, false identification that I am the doer, I am the one who's surveying my life, and so extraordinary, perfect, and needing perfection, and all those things that are connected with the false ego.
Yeah, it's like what in the process is really designed to move us to disconnect from that false ego.
Yeah, because austerity sometimes, like what you say, can be the Bhoga austerity, and then indulgence, austerity, indulgence. There is that too. And there is also austerity sometimes creates to harden the heart. Like we can do very, very austere, like yogis. They are very, very austere. Hiranyakashipu was austere, so in a sense, it increases false ego with austerity, not decrease it. And so.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that emphasis, Melody. So it seemed maybe the main thing that comes to me is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And of course, look, I chant my rounds. That can be part of our, pseudo spiritual false ego. But the idea is in the mood of that chanting is meant to be, my dear Lord Krishna, please engage me in your service. My dear Srila Prabhupada, please engage me in your service. My dear Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your service. So to the extent that we can move towards that mood, that attitude, then we're transforming false material ego to true spiritual ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems that the true spiritual ego is so connected with humility. Like really true humility, that really our position and being in a place of like, yeah, I'm a servant of Krishna and I just do what Krishna wants. And then there is a Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya, like you said, chanting Hare Krishna. And like in that chanting, it's like watering the garden, but also pulling the weed of false ego. Like not needing to protect our false ego, like not really identifying when we react our false ego, when we don't want to do something because we want to feed and protect the false ego. And I appreciate your class about great sacrifice, because tomorrow we are starting a 20-hour kirtan. And that kirtan is, there is a few reasons for that organization of that festival. It's a home kirtan festival. And one of the reasons is to share each other, to really strengthen the community and have everyone sharing their kirtan. And it's not about musicality, it's not about being adept, it's about getting out of false ego and just like be part of the sacrifice, the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. And so much of that, like the sages of Naimisharanya, they met together for thousands of years to do sacrifice for the benefit of people in Kali Yoga, to make sure that they don't, they get the support. And often I think about them and I'm thinking, where will we be without that sacrifice? Where will we be without them doing that sacrifice? It's mind-boggling, because, in one sense I feel so fallen, we are so fallen, and the world is so fallen, but then without that sacrifice. So Narayan and I, we wanted to give an opportunity for the community to come as a whole, and to coming as a whole, doing that sacrifice, stretching ourselves outside of the false ego, doing the 24 hours, not 1,000 years, for the benefit of humanity. As a community coming together, offering kirtan and 24-hour kirtan as a sacrifice and austerity, not something that will help us also get out of the weeds in our heart of false ego, and mainly supporting the transformation of humanity. Because even so, we may not understand it, we may not understand the power of that 24-hour austerity sacrifice that our community is doing. It has the potency, and it does change the trajectory of humanity. So I want everybody here, I know Kiss, you're not on Facebook, so maybe you didn't get the message, and I know Praladhir and Brielle and everybody here encourage you. There is still more slot to feel, to really feel, to give, to offer that 24-hour kirtan as a sacrifice for humanity, and as a way of us just getting into the mood like I'm serving. It doesn't matter if my kirtan is good or not. It's not what it is about. It is about serving in that Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya. Thank you. That was my spiel.
Thanks for your spiel. Thank you both for organizing that. I'm so appreciative. Yes, thank you for that. And yeah, I like your connection, Malini, that this Shinada Pishnich Tori Vasahishtrina Amanina Manadina Tanya Sadahari. It's about humility. Humility means we know our position as our position is to joyfully do kirtan and glorify Krishna, and the false ego, because the whole thing of straight, like false ego is I'm the controller, I'm the enjoyer, I'll do the austerity, I'm controlling my senses, and then I'll enjoy the benefits. And austerity is part of the process, but it can be so connected with false ego, kartahamiti manyate, And so through this chanting, the mood of chanting is surrendering, surrendering to surrendering my life to serve Krishna, including, because there's a saying, work like everything depends on me, and pray like everything depends on Krishna, both simultaneously, in the name of, oh, it's all up to Krishna, I'm not the controller, that it's an excuse to not be determined, to be lazy. So no, to give our 100% effort, to do austerity that will support us, and to be responsible and attentive to details in our service, and at the same time, intense, humble prayer to the Supreme Controller. Thank you, Malini, and thank you, Narayan, for organizing that event. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sri Dhruva Maharaj ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.